I just don't think from a game theory perspective, if your goal is to play close to a GTO strategy in NFL DFS, I don't really get how Marvin Jones can be a good part of your plan, because it's not like there aren't lots of ways to save salary.
Marvin Jones is going to be absolute stone chalk on every site right now, right? Just that's the one that we probably should talk about first. So what are your thoughts on Marvin Jones going to week one?
Yeah, I mean, my thought is that it really could not set up any better for the way that I want to play, to just immediately have like a leverage play that I don't even have to think about heading into week one, which is I'm not going to play Marvin Jones on my single entry team, not going to play him on any of my 3-max teams, and I'll be making a concerted effort to play Laviska Shenault and DJ Shark instead. So our projections are up on Daily Roto right now. Now, I have not, it's Monday. I have not, there are projections here that are going to change a lot. But as of right now, Marvin Jones is our number one projected value wide receiver, like, obviously, and that's going to be the same on ETR. That's going to be the same on Roto Grinders. That just is the way that it is. But we also have positive value projections on Shenault, and we also have a positive value projection on DJ Shark, because they have this amazing team total. Those guys are not priced up. And it's not like he is the only playable wide receiver that's cheap, right? I mean, we have T. Higgins, who is 4,700. We have Jerry Jeudy, who's 4,800. I mean, even Marquez Callaway, 3,400. I think given the expected ownership delta, like, I still think Callaway will be chalky. But normies love Marvin Jones, dude. The normies love Marvin Jones.
Yeah, I think I heard you say this on another show earlier this week or last week, but like if the Marvin Jones like 3 touchdown game happens on like his 4 targets, 5 targets, I think I can personally live with that if he's going to be anywhere like 25% under. So especially earlier in the year, like we still don't know a lot of these situations, right? So this is like one of the perfect times to kind of zig at least the wide receiver position. The wide receiver, like the cheap wide receiver chalk, has to be like some of the easiest chalk to avoid though, right?
Yeah, I mean, and we're going to talk about this a little bit more, but like week one is like the worst time to be playing fragile chalk. Like of all 18 weeks there is, because this is when we know the least about the teams. We know the least about touch distribution. We know the least about target distribution. Like this is like the number one time to not be aping in on cheap guys who we think are going to have a big role, but we don't even really know. And honestly, that's part of why people feel so comfortable playing Marvin Jones. They saw him make the one big catch in the preseason. We know there's not a 4th wide receiver that the Jaguars are going to be playing. Tavon Austin is on IR. They cut Colin Johnson. But I just don't think from a game theory perspective, if your goal is to play close to a GTO strategy in NFL DFS, I don't really get how Marvin Jones can be a good part of your plan, because it's not like there aren't lots of ways to save salary. Like, this is not like a week 4 slate where you're trying to get in McCaffrey, Kamara, and Devontae Adams. It's just not like that.
Yeah, I mean, it happens every year. Week one, these prices come out so early that we're going to have value either way. So, like, if it ends up condensing in one spot, usually bad. So let's talk about, obviously, week one is kind of what you're referring to. Like, some of these projections are a little bit more fragile than others. Are there any that kind of stand out to you right away as ones that we should be kind of avoiding? Or, I mean, you're the one that's actually going in the weeds and adjusting some of these target shares and these market shares, right? So I think what people don't realize, and we talked a little bit about this in the offseason, is that these projections, like some of these players, we know a lot more about them than others. Some of these teams, right? There's still a lot of target shares and stuff that has to kind of flesh out a little bit, right? So how do you look at that early in the year, these first couple of weeks, when we still don't know a whole lot based on the usage?
I mean, there's a couple at running back that leap out to me right away. One of them is Antonio Gibson. He's 5,900 on DraftKings. Mike Davis is 5,400. Now, we have decent projections on those guys. Both of those guys are hitting our vanilla optimals. Like, if you run 150 teams with no settings, you're getting some of those guys. And I mean, I could see Antonio Gibson being projected the wrong way by like 5 points, right? If he comes out and has a 15% target share, then, probably he is one of the best overall plays of the slate, even with the difficult matchup against the Chargers. And honestly, I never thought I would say this, but I mean, Mike Davis, if the Mike Davis season-long best ball drafters are correct about his usage, then I have him projected too low. I have him for about a 10% market share of the receiving game and about a 60% market share of the rushing game. But those numbers could be wrong. I mean, they just cut Quadre Olson. They added Wayne Gallman, but is Wayne Gallman going to be ready? Is he past health and safety protocols? How much are they going to use Cordarrelle Patterson as a running back? I mean, Mike Davis might have 16 carries and 6 targets in week 1. Like that's a pretty real thing that could happen for him.
Yeah, and on FanDuel even, so Gibson's more expensive than Eckler, CEH, and Carson, but you scroll down, like Mike Davis still 6,200 on FanDuel. That's a pretty nice price tag for those guys, but it's one of those things that we kind of have to shift our mindset pretty quickly from the offseason and kind of looking at these from like the more macro season-long view to like what's going to happen this week. And the reality is a lot of these guys are still going to be kind of locked in for a decent amount of volume right out of the gate. So I know both of us were pretty high on Gibson this offseason, but running back's going to be really interesting this week. And they really didn't do much to, I guess, make us not play Christian McCaffrey. I mean, he's 10-4 on FanDuel, but there's so much value. It's pretty easy.